Welcome to another edition of Crimes Notes. If you are starting topic 2.2, it means that you have already completed one-step equation, so make sure that you have a firm grasp on that before you try to do these notes. At the top, there are the three normal do-now problems that you're supposed to be able to do. They're all review. This is evaluating in function notation. This is translating a sentence into an equation. And then this is solving a one-step equation. So like I said, you've kind of already done this. So now if we look down here, things to ponder or things that we need to know, this should look very familiar because it's exactly the same as what was on your 1-1 notes. So it says, what is the goal for solving equations? The same as before. The goal is to isolate the variable. No matter what that letter is, could be X, but a lot of the times it's not going to be X. They'll use K or M or P or whatever it is. But the goal is to get the variable by itself. How do we solve the equations? In other words, how do we get the variable by itself? We use inverse operations. We undo what was already done. So if it shows addition, we're going to use subtraction. If it shows multiplication, we're going to use division, so on and so forth. And then here's our three steps, which again are exactly the same. Where is the variable? In other words, which side of the equation is it on? What is with the variable that needs to be moved? And then what is the inverse operation, meaning what is the opposite so that we can undo it? Or in other words, how do we move it away from the variable? Okay. So again, those questions are the same as before. So I'm going to fold my paper so that you guys can read this pretty good. We're going to look at number 1. So our very first step every time is going to be to draw the line. And then we want to see where is the variable. Is it on the left of the line or is it on the right? Well, it's on the left. Well, what's with the variable that would need to go away for the n to be by itself? Well, we have a 4 and a positive 9. So this says 4 times n, side by side means multiplied, right? Plus 9. So you're going to pretend that you're at a party. And if this is you, this is your best friend, right? Y'all are connected at the hip. This plus 9 is trying to hang out with you. So if you were going to kick somebody out of the party, it's going to be this plus 9 first. And again, we're going to do that using inverse operations. So since this is addition, we're going to do subtraction, so we would say minus 9, and what we do on one side, we always do on the other. So we subtract 9 from the other side, and then you could put that in your calculator if you needed to, or you could just do it in your head. So it would be negative 3 minus 9, and we would get negative 12. Now, if we did this correctly, before, like if this 4 wasn't here and we had this as a one-step equation, we would move this first, which is the same thing. We said these would cancel out and we bring down whatever's left. Well, in this case, I have 4n left. That's what makes this a two-step equation. Instead of just moving the 9 and being done, we now have a second step. Well, again, side by side means multiplied. So now the opposite operation would be to divide. And again, we divide by whatever number is in front of the variable. So we're going to divide both sides by 4 because what we do on one side, we do on the other. These should divide out. I would bring my n down. And then negative 12 divided by 4 would be negative 3. So this would be my solution. Now, can I check my solution? Sure. I can check my solution multiple ways. I could use nsolve if I wanted to, or the other option is, remember, we can always plug it in. So if I put 4 times n, well, that was negative 3, and I put plus 9, it should equal negative 3. So if I type that in, 4 parentheses negative 3 close plus 9, it comes out to negative 3. Or if I type the whole thing in, 4 parentheses negative 3 close plus 9, and then I press equals negative 3, it should say true. Okay? So you could either get that negative 3 equals negative 3, or if you put it in, it should say true. Okay? So a couple of our reminders. 1, remember side by side meant to multiply. So the opposite is always to divide in that situation. And make sure that you know you can check all solutions. Good. So I want you to kind of do number 2 on your own using this same idea. We would draw the line. Remember, this time our variable's on the right hand side. So you're going to get rid of the 11 first. This is subtraction. So we're going to add 11 and add 11. And then this is a negative 8y, so you're going to end up dividing by negative 8. So again, your hints here, your steps, you should add 11 and then divide by negative 8. So there's your steps. You should be able to get the answer. Okay? Good. All right, so let's move on to number 3. Number 3, I'm going to start it for you, and then I'm going to have you finish it. Actually, I might finish it. We'll see how this goes. But again, we're going to draw the line. Where's the variable? Here it is. What's with the variable that needs to be moved? Well, I'm dividing it by 3, and I'm adding 11. Just like before, if this 3 wasn't here and we had t plus 11, we would be moving this first. So we're going to keep those steps the same. So I would subtract 11 and subtract 11. These would cancel out. I would bring this down. So I now have t divided by 3 equals, and then I would put in 29 minus 11. Whoa. Or I could hit all kinds of crazy buttons. And I get 18. And then the opposite here, this is t divided by 3, so my inverse operation is going to be to multiply by 3. So then these two would cancel. I bring my t down, and then 18 times 3, again, you could put that in your calculator if you needed to, should come out to be 54. So I would say 54 is my solution. Good. And I am going to go ahead and put what you do on one side, you must do on the other. You have to keep the equations balanced, okay? Keep equations balanced. Super important. All right, number 6 is a little bit different, okay? It's still a fraction just like we did before, so I'm going to go ahead and draw my line. And then the variable's over here on the right-hand side, so what I need to get rid of is this negative 12 and then the divided by negative 7. Now, typically we would want to move this first, but we can't move this because the h is actually separated from this negative 7. So we're going to get rid of the division first since it's one big division bar. Just like over here when I had division, the next step was to multiply by the denominator. Okay, and again, that's what we did. Multiply by the denominator. Again, denominator is just a fancy way to say the number on the bottom of a fraction. So here, if I multiply by negative 7, I have to do the same thing on this side. So then this is going to cancel with this, and I'm going to bring this whole thing down. So I have negative 12 plus h. On this side, I have to multiply, so I would do negative 7 times 6, and it's going to tell me negative 42. So on this side, I have negative 42. From here, this should look familiar, so I'm going to let you finish it out. This is minus 12, that's with the h, so to move it, I would have to add. Okay, so you're going to add on both sides and get you a solution. Good. All right, so let's look at number 6. Okay, number 6, there are multiple ways to do this problem. I'm going to kind of show you a couple of them. Whichever one is the most comfortable to you is the one that I want you to use. okay? So you're going to do 5, I'm going to do 6, okay? They're the exact same type of problem. So the first example that I want to show you is the one that we probably talked about before, is that when I have a fraction, the easiest way to get rid of it is to multiply by the denominator. So if I multiply this by 3, because that's the number in the denominator, and I multiply this by 3, I would get 3 times 16 on the left, which is 48. So over here, I would have 48. On this side, I have to multiply this whole thing times 3. So I would have to do control divide, so I have my fraction, put a minus in the front. So minus 4 over 3, that whole thing times 3. And when I do that, I get negative 4p. From here, this should look familiar. So this is side by side means multiply. So the opposite is to divide. And we divide by whatever number is in front. So negative 4 divide by negative 4. So then 48 divided by negative 4, I would get a solution of negative 12. The other thing that I see a lot of kids do that is not incorrect, and I want you to know it is an option and I will not count it wrong. If you have this, 16 equals negative 4/3 p. A lot of you guys see that just like having a number in front of a variable, and so you would say, I'm going to divide by negative 4/3, and I'm going to divide by negative 4/3. I'm okay with that. This is still going to cancel. This is still our line. We would still bring down the p. But when you go to put that in your calculator, make sure that you hit control divide first. Then you're going to put 16 on the top and then negative 4 divided by 3 in the bottom so that you get this same negative 12. Notice it sets the problem up and makes it look like it should. So if this is the option you want to use, again, I'm okay with it. You can divide by a fraction if it's in front of the variable because you're correct. It's negative 4/3 times p, so we could divide by negative 4/3. Whichever one of those is easiest for you is what I want you to do because they're both correct. And then I want you to use that method to do number 5. All right, now let's look at number 7. This one should be vaguely familiar to you. You see parentheses. Anytime that we see parentheses, parentheses mean to distribute if there's a number in front. So you have to distribute before you can combine like terms. It's the same thing here. You have to distribute before you can solve the problem. So I would do negative 4 times k, and that would give me negative 4k. Then negative 4 times positive 5 would give me negative 20. And then on this side, I have 60. From here, it's a normal problem. So you would need to remove the 20 and the negative 4. So we would use addition here and then division. So see if you guys can get the solution to that one. Okay. On number 8, I want you guys to try this one on your own, but I don't want you to freak out about it. Just because it has decimals does not mean that the steps change. You're still going to add 3.2 to both sides, and you're still going to divide by negative 2.5. You're going to get an ugly answer, and it's going to be a decimal, but that is okay. So don't be worried about that. All right, I hope that helps you guys out. If you have any questions, make sure that you ask. Have a great day.